Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. I'm Shane. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this wonderful Tuesday. It is Tuesday, right, Michelle?
I think so. I don't know. I lost a few days there.
Tell me
I
about it,
really did.
man. Has time not been crazy or what?
I really feel like I lost a few days there. I really did. On Saturday, I thought it was Thursday the whole day. It's messed up. Yeah.
I tell you what, the more I can either include the right brain activities into my left brain duties, if you will, or just spend time in my right brain activities, whether it's, art or music or whatever, time just seems to just vanish. It's like I drift off into this zone and time, it's just weird.
I just move from one moment to the next doing what's in front of me to what I feel like doing. And I'm not thinking about what day it is or what time it is or any of those things. And yeah, so it just doesn't become relevant anymore for me, I'm finding. Yeah, and it all just goes by. Just like
Right?
cycles. It's like just noticing more the seasons, or it's day or it's night, right?
Yeah,
Or what season it is, and it's kind of marking my time more than anything.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
thank goodness for
Was it a
stuff
full
like this.
moon or
Right?
the moon cycles? That's basically.
Yeah, because if it wasn't for, having the different shows, my days would just be like all running together at this point.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and that marker, like us, connecting every Tuesday like we do, and even if we don't do a show, we still like usually connect, or it's just that that marker of the Tuesday is the only thing that keeps me aware of the weeks.
But that's awesome. I always
But
appreciate our time, and we always
uh,
have these cool synchronicities that happen. And so
mhm.
I think that human interaction is super important right now because that's where you can really see that connectedness. And it's happening
Yes,
more and more with everybody, even people that aren't really into that stuff. They're noticing things. So, and then
yeah,
and then because I always bring it up, they come to me with it. You're like, hey, you always say, I've been noticing synchronicities on the clock or weird things happening in very synchronistic ways. And I really feel like it's the divine reaching out to each and every person. It's like whether you're paying attention or not, it's always there, just
hmm
gently making itself available that you can like totally rise above all this chaos and tap into something that's completely different, being in this world but not of it, because it can pull you down, but there's a whole bunch of good things happening. So if you're focusing on all the chaotic stuff happening, it can pull you down and like we've been talking about, like being pointed in the right direction,
hmm
and it is
yeah,
so
and
nice.
where you're gonna be called to, what energy is to your benefit to be drawn to, and to integrate and meld with, and the timing of that, and yeah,
So
big
it really,
topic.
yeah, it is, and it gets back into way back when I had that dream and we were really talking about being in the flow of things, just
hmm
not fighting against the current or the situation, but just really making the best of the situation while you're in it, right? So I think a lot of people talk about we create our own reality, and it's like, well, I didn't create this, but on one level, you control your experience of your reality, how you react to things, and what kind of state of mind you're in. If you are in fear or worried or angry or whatever it is, or if you're happy or blissful, that's the reality that we all control within our own little sphere. And at the
hmm
end of the day, it's really up to us whether we want to vibrate with what we want or vibrate with what we see.
hmm
It gets back to the thinker, looking at his eyes or thinking with his third eye. Because you can look at your eyes and think the world's going to hell in a handbasket, right?
yeah, but that's it. But we are, you like you said, using the third eye, really accessing information in a different way now. And if you can start to shift that gear, and switch over to accessing information and perceiving reality through the lens of your third eye,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to the sort of the pre-programmed mental constructs or algorithms of your mental thought system to make decisions consistently about your reality and how you're going to make choices in it and move through it. It's a really completely different way to think.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It really is
Yeah.
getting, once again, back to that balance with the left and the right brain, looking at things analytically or from the heart, looking at things from the fear, the anger, or from the love and the compassion. It's a completely different thing. And I think it's really opening up to us that we do have access to things. If we can go within through the heart, the access is unlimited. So like lately, and you had this download that I thought was really cool about like thinking outside the box, and that's really
Mm-hmm.
what this is all about, because if you're in the box, right, you're within this construct, within this matrix. But the things
Mm-hmm.
that aren't real about this, the love, those get us outside of the box. They get us outside of the matrix. So the matrix is all
Yeah.
designed for fear, and it reminds me of that drawing of yours. Do you have that?
Yeah, I do. Well, if you guys can see it well.
Let me just make it
I
big.
almost I almost think I should redo this because it was it was kind of like this doodle thing at the time, but
Right, but it was
so it
so
kind of
long
ended up
ago, and people
squished.
will remember it. You know.
But yeah, it's this box. So this is a really it's this came to me on this download of there were so many downloads this week
Oh, I
that there
know.
was a lot of downloads this week, and really I think that stems from and part of the downloads and understanding is this a new way to access information and understand complex ideas that we weren't able to sort of configure in our minds
Hmm.
before.
Right.
Um, and how we're able to do that, and part of it being this this, well, most of it being this activation with the third eye and sourcing your information in a different way, and thinking, literally thinking outside the box. It's a saying that talks about, well, that's what a creative thinker, a person who can come up with solutions to problems and understandings of situations outside of the normal means, and therefore come up with successful, inspiring conclusions to problems that you couldn't conceive of before. And how is that happening, and why is that happening? And it's happening more and more. um so yeah, that's it's a lot. Sorry, it
Let me
just
let me
it comes
frame it.
in pictures. So
Right. Let me frame it in a way to kind of set the stage of,
thanks.
like where
Thanks,
you've
buddy.
got. So we're kind of talking about you're accessing stuff on an analytical left brain level, or you can access stuff on the right brain, which is like thinking outside the box, or intuitive, or connections from going within and connecting to the divine that's beyond the information you've collected your whole life. So that's sort of
Yeah.
left brain, right? So the stuff you learned in school, that's all in the box stuff, right? And now we're finding out a lot of the stuff we learned might not even be true, right? So
Yeah.
really, we're coming to this time where you have to go and you've got to go within and access that higher information, because there's too many tares in the wheat, so to speak,
Hmm.
to try to
It's even
decipher.
more. I would like to say, Shane, that it's even more than whether or not something is true or not. It literally is a different way to solve problems and move through reality.
It's
uh
multidimensional.
it's switching gears, like when you problem solve from the box. It's a set program. It's going to spit out the same answers. It's like a flow chart way of thinking.
Hmm.
um you know if it's yes or no, then you go to this or this. So it's only this or this option. So it's a structured way of thinking that
Like digital computers are ones or zeros, right? Where the quantum
exactly, it's
computers
either
can
this or
be,
this, so it has to
yeah,
be this. Boom, boom,
exactly,
boom, boom, boom.
right.
About how you process or solve problems or answer your own questions. So it's like, so what's happened is, as this box, this pre-programmed way of thinking, and so many of us is literally falling apart. It's like a track system, all these programs
Mm-hmm.
that just used to run automatically. We used to just process information through it and let it go in. It would spit a response of how we're supposed to think or behave or do in a certain situation, and we would just follow it unquestioned,
Mm-hmm.
without question, right? So now that it's just all falling apart, and then this activation with the third eye is kicking in and literally allowing us to replace that old way of sourcing information into a different way. So, and also one of the things that really becomes different is, you don't carry information the same way in your mind. Like I was saying before, it's like we used to have to carry everything, like carry a library in our head, carry the suitcases around with us as information. We had to be prepared and stored and memorized and printed, so that we go into the vault and we search through the filing cabinets, and we find this information. So it's like it's getting cleared away, and you source the information that you need in each given moment by being present.
Right.
And what you need to know at that time becomes available to you. You don't need to know everything else at the same time. You you are just in each moment solving those questions in a different way.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it almost
So
comes back to feeling like you need to be prepared for something, but you don't know what's coming or whatever. But coming into that realization that your higher team does know, and when you are presented with a question, it will be answered at that time. And it kind of gets back to, you remember we were talking about, like, when you're driving at night, you're going like 60, 70 miles an hour on the highway, and you can only see a little bit ahead of you. You just sort of trust the roads there. You can see enough of the road ahead of you that you can keep moving forward. You don't have to see the whole road, though, you know?
yeah, well, I was getting the image of, like we were saying, that the stars, people who travel by the stars at night, directionally, they may not see, like sailors on the water, they don't see necessarily the road that they're traveling, but it would be marked by the stars. So that sort of analogy really comes to me with this as well, because it was really also part of this kind of big download um, I got on how we move through time and how we experience this reality
Mm-hmm.
energetically, how we perceive it, and how we move through it. So I don't know, should I just get
Moving through
into the whole
time,
description
manifesting
on
through
that?
time. Yeah. Yeah, let's talk
Yeah,
about that because
because
I think.
it's kind of a big explanation on this
Mm-hmm.
picture. So okay, bear with me, and if there's anything I'm missing, because we kind of went over this before, so
Okay.
thankfully you know what I'm talking about. All right, I'd mentioned a couple weeks ago about having a different concept of time sort of presented to me as, not being linear, sort of this straight path that we walk. At us experience this reality, it's like a beam of light coming into this matrix experience, and that time is coils around us, right? And it's all coiling. So there was this whole big evolution with what started out as a simple picture, and showing me sort of how we perceive time differently. Um, it got quite involved. Uh, I think first what I'll do is explain that archetypes really have equate to frequency, equate to color, right? They're all kind of the same thing. Um, so
You're saying color and frequency and what else?
archetypes,
Oh, okay, right.
archetypes are kind of like octaves in a way. Archetypes are like the constellations, right? Like if I'm an Aquarius, right? If you're Capricorn or Virgo, that's an archetype. It's like a symbol. It has representations. It has deep meanings to it. It carries a story. The story has meaning to it. So we're marked kind of through time and through personality perspective in a lot of ways by archetypes. That's why symbolism is so present and so used. That's why they use it, because they understand the importance of archetypes. It's archetypes carry, like, it's like a picture says 1,000 words. It gives you a vast amount of information in a simple, like a symbol.
Mm-hmm.
Color does the same thing, and it sets a tone, right? It's the same thing. Color setting a tone. Setting a tone is the same thing as a frequency and setting a harmonics. They're
Mm-hmm.
all kind of the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
and they represent the same thing. So we are this beam of light coming into this coil
Mm-hmm.
of time. And how this coil of time is marked is by the stars, the story and the archetypes in the stars. They project this story, and we experience it energetically through the archetypes in this story that revolve. As the universe revolves, it's projecting this experience. Now, we all perceive and experience this in different ways, also based on our time of birth, right? So if we're this beam of light, it's like when we come in, what is formed is a lens of how we perceive our reality. And that lens is colored, right?
Sets the tone.
Sets the tone,
Right.
exactly, based on, like, like, again, you're born at a certain time, your Aquarius, your planets, your alignments,
Right.
all of these different things create all these little subtle nuances, the more detailed you get, subtleties of tone. And what's created is a rainbow. Help me
Kaleidoscope.
with. Thank you. I was going to say mosaic, but kaleidoscope, which is our lens. So it's like we're coming into this, we are this beam of light coming into this tunnel coiling around us,
Mm-hmm.
that's rotating in cycles of these different archetypal energies that tell a progression of a story. They progress us through this tunnel to experience, in part, this grand story. And then how we perceive it, how our lens is colored, is sort of set or marked based on the stars and alignments of when we're born. So now we're moving, we have our lens being the light moving through
Through the
this tunnel,
spiral, basically.
through the spiral,
Tunnel.
which is rotating, the cycles, the seasons, um, all of those things, right? Now, uh, we have our own unique sort of path that we follow, and energies that we're called to, that we're drawn to in our own unique way as well. So as much as our kaleidoscope rainbow lens is different and unique, right, based on all these alignments, so too is our connections, literally like cords, that weave through and connect to all these,
Tones.
and well, the main archetypal energies. As we move through, we have connections ahead and behind, energetically.
But technically, aren't you saying that, like, when your tone is set right at birth,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of connects you to similar tones throughout the spiral, correct?
Yes,
Okay, okay, okay.
yes.
That's
And
what I
those
meant. All right. Okay.
That's right. And those connections create like a weave,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
There's streams through, of connection, of a harmonic connection and alignments. They draw us to experience certain things in order to, again, change that mosaic. It's an evolution of rotating kaleidoscoping colors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, to be in harmony, to be harmonious through this sort of progression and passage, um, you are tuning in to your own color frequencies and combinations at that time, feeling the call or magnetic draw of these streams or strings of connection energetically to the cycles that move and can, you know, have the most power for you, the most draw, the most influence, the most where you can really launch yourself forward in a cycle, you know, to the best experience, to be in the flow. That is in the flow when you're sensing the coming, you know, harmonics,
Mm-hmm.
and they're knowing that there's a time and a place, and allowing the colors of each moment and time to move through you naturally creates this rainbow harmonic experience of reality. Okay, I hope I set that stage.
It's more open
What
flow, flowing.
it's flowing, yes, it is a flowing thing. That's how you're flowing through these currents, these weaves,
Mm-hmm.
right, of connections through your experience, and that's how you can be in the flow naturally to this current or a progression of experience in this story, right? But what you know happens often is where we create disharmony is really, instead of running how we make our decisions or how we progress forward through time, instead of running that through the third eye in sensing harmonics and color, we are using the box, the mental, like, pre-programmed. When that happens, we get stuck on the past because it spits out the same results, right? It's giving you an answer based on previous experience. So it literally, all those chords and connections that were smooth and create this like braid, this harmonious braid that you can move through, becomes knotted and becomes jammed up, and we get stuck in the past. So it's like a machine that gets broken, that has to keep repeating the same cycle until you can move past it and let that go. But we literally get knotted up with energy in our past, and then we knot up and we tie up our future as well because of this controlled expectation of input output box thinking, expectation of how experience should happen, or how we need to control them because of these preconceived ideas, and that's not in the flow, and it literally causes these knots. So what I also want to say, which I didn't even get to, another huge part of this download, is that that's what a lot of us, especially dream workers, come in to do. That we are coming in and we're going, popping through these timelines and these connections with people who may energetically hold the same chord connections, like harmonic connections as us, and we're going into those lines, forwards or backwards for others, and untying those knots for them, untying that situation in a dream, like in a dream time, and going in and releasing that, untying it, and allowing those things to move smoothly, not just for ourselves.
So, what do you
And
see these
for other
knots as
people.
being, like, on an individual level? I mean, I know it's an archetype for kind of restricting the flow of energy, but on a practical level, someone, um, how would they go about? Is this like them sort of not being in the moment? Would you say?
Mm-hmm. A lot of that, yeah,
Because I kind
yeah,
of feel like we don't think of things, we think of things linearly, but when you think of things on a higher dimensional level, you realize you're sort of creating outward from the now moment, which is
that's right.
why it seems like we see Mandela effects and retrocausality and things like this happen, right? Because when we create from the now moment, which is the only moment there ever really is, then it can just flow rather than sort of trying to go and fix the past by going there. Do you know what I mean? It's like
Mm-hmm.
everything gets
Yeah, there's
harmonized from the
I'm really
now.
saying that there's a really completely different energetic experience that you can find, and the
Mm-hmm.
more that you can switch off the box thinking and go to this third eye thinking, it's actually an energetic experience. Is a resonance, and it's drawing in as a resonance, you drawing in a color, it's drawing in a tone, finding those chords, and sensing them in the cycles,
Mm-hmm.
and then you don't have to do anything.
That's actually why meditation's so important, because it's like you're disconnecting from this 3D experience and connecting in with the higher, where all of the infinite knowledge is, and you're like tapping
Yes.
into that. And that's where
Yes.
everything really happens, not what we see. So it's
Yeah.
those moments that are so important, because that's when we get the downloads and stuff. I've been getting tons of them. And it's like, I just recommend everybody go there and get your own downloads, because it just
Mm-hmm.
comes to you perfectly matched for your understanding. So, and then I find that with watching other people, they'll get things that I can tell it's like the same thing, but just packaged completely different because of their
Yeah.
experience is different. That's why it's so important that each and every one of us go within and have that quiet time to just
Well,
breathe and relax and listen.
it picks out from us the metaphors that will work the best.
Right.
The
Yeah.
pictures it uses and sources. So, the energy, the download comes in, right? And it picks up all the bits of information that it can package that it metaphorically will understand. And then I mean, once you really get familiar with what downloads are like it can be just like it becomes more a constant thing of how you just source information,
And
because
kudos
it
to
just
you
kind
for
of
even trying to
unfolds.
to try to put into words something that is so, when you see these things play out in your mind, to try to.
When things first come in, it can kind of come in a chunk here and a chunk there, and then you just have to let it be, and then it just kind of unfolds, and the explanations will simplify and simplify, and just it becomes very simple sort of analogies that you can relate to, and so you're relating to concepts more on an energetic level of
Right.
knowing,
But it's
you
having that
know
realization of the cycles and the connections with the past, so you can allow that flow then. So, okay, so to put it in a different way, we're born and we get these glasses we put on, and they kind of
yeah,
filter our world a little bit. And if
color
we're,
it, yeah, too.
so they color it a little bit, they set the tone, right? So they kind
Yeah,
of added this. But then as we go through life and we pick up other people's packages and stuff, isn't it like we're slipping more and more lenses on,
muddies the
and it's
lens,
muddying the
right?
lens, and then you
Yeah, I
can't
don't know if
even.
I said that one on. Yeah, it muddies the lens, and just like so a harmonious transition, with those colors. I think I just said it to you. I don't think I said it on the show yet. Was like if I'm carrying yellow and feeling the timing and the tone of blue energy coming in, and knowing this beautiful green experience it's going to create, and just allowing that to happen, that's really this kind of rainbow experience. I know this sounds very general, but if you have a deep understanding of color, there's so much information or meaning even to a color or a flower or a stone, all of these different things are archetypes, and it has so much individual meaning to us. But so we can sense or feel the colors, the tone of experience and exchange. But yeah, we muddy it. It's like if you take yellow and then you add the blue, and then now we're jammed up, and then you put the red and you keep adding all these colors over it, you just end up with brown. You're
And you're
not.
going to feel quite probably pretty anxious, aren't you, if you got all this coming in and it's not making sense, because you're trying to filter it through these lenses already, and it's sort of like dropping the stories in the packages and emptying your backpack. All these things we've been talking about, isn't this? We're really talking about the thing, right? It's like
Yeah,
liberate.
that energetic pillar of just of checking in and releasing those stories, yeah, that you carry, so you can be not, yeah, not based on thought.
Right.
And because some thoughts aren't even yours, and beliefs and all these different things. So yeah, letting these stories fall away and discovering what your true color is. Hmm.
Liberating yourself. So,
Yeah.
um, are we to see these, I guess, these original filters as being this beautiful mosaic of tapestry? Are we trying to get beyond that? Are we trying to get beyond that filter too, or just the filters that were added on after that point in your sort of analogy?
No, I don't think necessarily that we need to get beyond. I mean, we're always getting beyond, in being infinite. What That's just the lens for this one reality experience, and then
Right.
you move on and you try on another lens. But I think in order. have, you know, the best flow and peak experience is to have a clear lens and understand your own colors, not get rid of them.
Hmm.
We all have these nuances of purples and reds and blues and and it's understanding and accepting that as well. Still, you know, letting it go, feeling the truth of just being the white light,
Hmm.
of just being that, being nothing and being everything all at the same time. Um, you know, but identities are illusions. I think, you know, this is one of the big issues that really is going to be have to, I think, be cracked, like really the mask, the cracking of the mask, you know, next year is really what I'm seeing. You know, we had all this 2020 vision, but there's so many masks that we wear. This theme is just so present.
Right.
And
The masks
um
coming off.
but yeah, the people do it in so many, like on social media. All social media is masks. You
Yeah.
know, it's a different presentation of who people think you are, who you want them to think you are. Like, so there's just so much of that going on. Not by everybody's very sincere people, and
What it is, it
but
provides a great opportunity to create a filter there, like we're talking about, right?
yeah, well, there's just a lot of, you know, we talked years ago, and this kind of theme has come up again, you know, about identity, and it's sort of again being another one of those boxes, and people being confused, thinking that they think that their identity is who they are, and it really is like taking the I am statement and saying I am, but, and you know, which is like, well, everything before the word but is BS.
Right.
So, you know, I am, you know, but I'm this, like all this uh smaller and smaller identity boxes. I don't want to say just gender, but I mean that's one of the things.
Hmm.
But you know, you could be identified just with your career, your but it really is these smaller and smaller boxes that they want us to identify and protect. Oh, you know, get mad, get triggered over, think that that is who we are, and if other people don't acknowledge this box, then somehow we're not valid, and it's just such a confusing thing, and it really needs to be shattered. I think that's really one of the things, one of the archetypal stories in this progression is these, whether people like it or not, is these masks coming off. It's like everybody being exposed. You can't hide the truth. You can't lie anymore. You can't pretend anymore. You can't pretend for everybody to be something that you want everybody else to think that you are, which so many young people do right now. You know, it's just taking these selfies and posting them as whatever.
Right.
I don't need to get into all that. I think you guys know what I mean. But yeah, all those masks and it are going to come down. It's not going to be a pleasant experience for people.
Well, it's funny
They're going
because,
to feel naked, exposed, and not know who they are.
right? Well, we've
Yeah.
been, because they've identified with the, the story, the body, all of that
The
instead of
story.
beyond. Yeah.
Yes. The
Uh,
energy of who they are.
right, exactly. And I
Mhm.
think, when we
Yes.
were talking in the beginning of the year that this was the year of 2020, the year of clear vision, we're going to see things we don't like, right? I mean, you have to.
Yes.
That's part of
Yeah.
it. The revealing is looking at things we haven't wanted to look at, other people looking at things that they didn't know about, and one thing leading to another. And like Eileen and I talk about pulling the fridge out, you got to see all the junk before you can clean
People
out.
being
And
exposed.
yeah,
Yeah, exposed. And that is part of the
the
next stage
unveiling.
of those masks
Yeah,
coming off.
yeah,
But it'll be for everybody, you know, and there's many people that, you know, good people, and they behave in moral and just ways, but also don't realize the masks that they carry too.
hmm,
You know, uh there will, I think, come for all a reckoning of being beyond the story. Can you submit? Can you release the need to carry the story of your ego, of your identity? Or can you see that you are beyond that, and it comes, it goes. We, you know, we, this is what we do.
But
This
it
is what
seems,
life really is we take on a form, we take on an identity, we experience it, we shed it, and we go on to something else.
but even within this reality, I can see like getting beyond that. Sort of the block of what you're explaining is sort of it would be our next logical step to move into telepathy because it seems like those little boxes we put ourselves in only serve to separate us from other people. You know, like, well, I don't want them
Hmm.
talking to my head. What might they see or whatever because I've got my story to
Hmm.
protect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but again, telepathy, I think, again, is something, a different, how we may experience that in our perception is different than I think what most people expect it to be an experience of. Like, most people kind of think telepathy is like, okay, I'm telepathic. Then I would like literally be like reading your
Right,
thoughts,
right,
which
right.
which sometimes happens. Like sometimes you'll get like a sentence, a word, but often it's a picture in action, or you get an impulse. More than anything, what telepathy is I would suddenly get an impulse to bring up a topic, like something's popping into my imagination, into my mind, into
From
my
where?
eyes, picture,
Right,
right, of a connection with you,
right,
like that. So that comes up, but it's done archetype. Again, it's done by, energetically, a tone.
right.
You're
But
not getting specific
at
words.
this point, it's sort of like we're intuitively getting in the zone and doing things, and then finding out later, oh my gosh, the synchronicity happened. I must have been tapping into something like you learning that song on the very day that it was happening. We didn't talk that day, but yet we were
Hmm.
connected. It was clear that we were connected in that way. You know what I mean?
Yes,
So,
exactly
but
like that.
I think at some point it'd be more realized in the moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, you'll realize why you're learning that song more than it just sort of happening and then you finding out later. Maybe I don't know.
I kind of
I
do.
like the
Like, I
magic
kind of
of it.
did, though. I told you when I played it. I'm like, I
Right,
knew there was a point. I knew
right,
there was a purpose. I might not know all the intricate, exact details,
right,
but I got a sense. I
right.
got a tone of of a story. And I did get, I knew that it had a meaning to you. I did feel like it was significant to your mother.
Mm-hmm.
It
Wow.
came in on a specific day in my head. I knew it wasn't my own. I knew it was for you. And then you just follow it, right? It's the string, and you're just like, oh, there's the string. I can feel it. I can sense the tone, and that feels good to
Tap in.
me. That fits with what the energy, the resonance, what I want to draw into my experience.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't that feel good? That
Right.
feels great. And then you move towards that experience. So then it was like, each time I'm playing the piano and practicing that song, I was already pulling that experience, and was multidimensionally aware of that.
Right.
There was a dual sensation of experiencing something that meant something from your past, experiencing a moment of appreciation that you would feel in the future, and then experience in that present time the joy of me feeling your energetic connection really to that song and what it meant to you, and experiencing myself what it meant to me simultaneously. Felt the connection to that, to both of us.
And you know what
And
else is cool that you're not even thinking about is like, because this is a perfect example, it's like you got that information. You're like, well, let me see if it's in my book of how many songs are in that book? 100 songs?
150.
150 songs. So out of 150 songs, let's see if it's in my book as a little confirmation that I'm supposed to learn it. And bam,
Well,
there
it's
it
in the
is.
book.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course it would be
Exactly.
in the book, right?
But I don't even like, I don't pause.
Right.
It's not, there's no, well, me, there's no surprise.
Right.
Right? I was like, oh, of
Oh, I was
course. Well,
blown
of
away.
course it's in the book.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not surprised it's in the book. Of course it's in my book.
Right. It's awesome.
Right? Yeah. And it really is, that just becomes a normal experience.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not thinking about what I'm going to do today.
Right.
I'm tuning in, like, energetic to what's drawing me magnetically. What's coming in, what
Mm-hmm.
energy, what archetypes, what colors, what themes.
Mm-hmm.
The more you listen, the more you see kaleidoscope.
Right. Well, that was the
So
other thing that was kind of coming to me. I was talking earlier about the really, you can't always control your reality, for instance, but you can control your experience of the reality. So I was thinking, like in the instance, maybe your car breaks down, you got to fix your car. Nobody would create that for themselves, right? But I can see, oh, it's going to be 3 hours to fix this. I can go find a 3 hour podcast or something and like really make it a great thing that's happening rather than this horrible thing that, oh, I got to go work on the
I'm
car and
looking
get
for the
dirty. Yeah.
cool thing that is going to happen that diverted the situation for a purpose,
Right.
right? I like I
Right. Exactly. And that's the point. Like,
I'm looking for
right.
what's the cool unique opportunity here.
That's been presented. Exactly.
Yeah. Is it a cool conversation I get to have with somebody? Am I going to like what is it?
Hmm.
If something goes off road, I'm not looking at how it took me away from, oh, I was going in that direction. I'm like, oh, we're doing this for a reason.
Exactly. And that's really that's a huge
And I'm not
difference
worried about it.
because that is
Yeah.
that's like you could be the victim and like, oh my gosh, I can't afford this right now. I need to get to work. The car broke down and like, your whole day's ruined.
Hmm.
Or you can like, oh, this is something I know this is an
What is
accidental.
this
What is
compelling
this
me to
gonna
do? What is
exactly?
it asking me to do? What is it calling me to do?
It's an
What was it
opportunity.
asking me to?
It's an
Yeah.
opportunity rather than a problem.
Yes. Yeah. It's a different, and that's a different energetic approach, right? But when we have preconceived ideas of our experience based on past, experiences, expectations, all those things, what does it do? It knots up those timelines, those connections, those like ribbons,
Right.
and they get all knotted up, and then we're just stuck in there. Hmm.
So it really
So
gets back to like Abraham Hicks talks about, like getting in the flow, getting in the vortex.
yeah.
Start feeling the way you
Oh, it
want to
is a
feel.
word. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Like it is like we're
Yeah.
this light, and
Yeah.
you can't be afraid of cycles. You can't be afraid of change. You can't be resistant to the flow. It's always flowing.
Right.
It's always changing. It's always cycling. And there's nothing to be afraid of in that.
Yeah.
Um because you can feel the cycles ahead that are most harmonious for you to experience,
Mm-hmm.
and then focus on those, and magnetically it's just drawn into your experience. So it's this weird thing of like, you have control but you don't.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of do, but
Depends on what
you have to be
perspective
okay with
you're
not.
at. You know.
You have to be okay with letting the cycles and the timing and the harmonics to play through you, not always be trying to play your own tune, because that's the way it was always done, and that's the way you learned it,
Right.
right? Instead of just playing harmoniously in the moment, on the feeling and the expression of the time and the archetypal energy that is coloring our experience in that moment.
I totally get this picture in my mind of, you're floating down the river and you grab onto this limb and you're just hanging on for dear life with
That's
this
it.
old system, like, no, we got to have this, and it'd be so much easier to just let go and go with the flow. But we're actually
Yeah.
taught not to do that. Oh, no, don't do that. There's like a
Yes.
waterfall just beyond the bend that you're going to plummet to your, death or whatever.
That's
Don't
it.
take a
And
chance.
yeah, it's like that river, it's like that could be that lazy river that kind of, and sometimes there's rapids, sometimes there's, fierce animals. I don't, there's changing scenery,
Right.
as the scenery goes by. But, what happens is we're like, no, I only want to look at this scenery. I don't want to leave, these trees, even though you don't know, you're expecting what you're going to see, but you have no idea. Yeah. So it's a different way.
Right.
So, anyways, I don't want to beat that one to death.
No, but it's an adventure, and the more we can tap into that adventure feel of it, the more you can
Hmm.
enjoy your experience. That's why
Hmm.
I think it's really helpful to look at it like you're on a mission or in a game or whatever. You can look at Hunger Games was horrible. There was people that died, so it could be a very real game, but still be like objective based. You know what I mean? That's sort of what I mean by a game. Like you're here to accomplish some objectives, to further your
Yes.
own experience and your growth and your connection back to who you truly are. And even the more
Yes.
you help those around you do that, they're really you on a certain level. So you're still helping yourself in that fashion. And when you see
Yeah.
problems, it's really reflecting back to you what you need to look at and things like that. So I totally get that whole experience, but you don't get that as the victim because then you sort of feel like everybody's out to get you. You know what I mean? Rather than
Well, you're stuck in a story.
opportunities. Yeah.
A victim is stuck in a story, and it can often be one of the most devious manipulations, right? Because it really uses empathy to control
Mm-hmm.
experience. But anyways, I do want to share one other download.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that is kind of what's happening again with these energies. I don't know, maybe we've heard this before, but it was again kind of a unique experience and sort of deeper energetic understanding, explained visually. And it really is so how we're experiencing these waves. And it's kind of like, so we know that we're all connected like a net.
Mm-hmm.
So we're here like a net energetically around the earth, and the wave of energy comes in and it pushes us, the net, deep into sort of denser energy. And that's kind of what we're feeling when the energy comes in and we get really heavy, and we feel really, and we do sleep more because we do, this is where the deep work does, like I said.
Alchemy, alchemizing energy and things like that, you
Well,
mean?
and one of the things, like I was saying, like when we go into time, other people's timelines and are untying these
Mm.
knots, this kind of one of the things that happens. So that the wave pushes the net deep into the denser energy, and that's where, as the net, we're going in and we're doing this work often in dream time, but we feel really heavy, and that denseness, and it's very similar to like where we don't see things as changed, like we're in the same four walls in the same room, but it's just like the fish tank being in the bowl of water, and the fish tank hasn't changed, but the water itself has become denser, just like a deep sea diver becomes more pressurized. And that's this experience of us being pushed down deep, and we're going in and we're doing the deep, like dirty work, a lot of it in dreams, energetically, to pull up this energy, and then literally it gets flung back up, right? And it gets launched back up, and that's when we go through this experience, and then we come out of it where levitate. I think this is when levitation dreams happen. When we start getting those and all of a sudden the energy goes up, you'll literally feel buoyant. It's like how we go from this experience where one day you feel like lead weight, and the next day your feet are hardly touching the ground, or the balance is off, and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
you literally get that like a trampoline. Whew.
Yep.
So we don't see this as change, but that's what's changing. The wave comes in, it pushes us deep into this pressure, and then we dig in, we pull this stuff up for other people, and then it pulls us up back out and launches us up, and then that's when we can really feel that fluttery feeling, and like whoo, and maybe a little bit of nausea almost, and dizziness, and it feels like you just got flung up in the air, and you may be wobbly on your feet, lose your balance, all of those. It's this change in the pressure, literally, that the vibration, and that's what the wave is doing, is pushing in the net in, and then we're pulling this stuff up, and we just keep doing this, and the more it's just coming faster and faster, and we're just getting quicker at pulling this stuff up. But a lot of that's done in dream time, a lot of that work, and I just thought the way it showed it again was this like continuous, like really rapid overlapping of, see this, that's like when you get this, and that's when you get that, and that's when you get that, and this is when that, like it's kind of cool the way it does that. But I thought it was a neat explanation. It made a lot of sense to why we actually physically feel that way
Right.
too. Feel the symptoms, but we're still in the same fish tank going, why do I feel so different?
Right.
Everything looks the same, but I don't feel the same. So,
It's kind of like that same effect you were talking about with the lenses or whatever. You're in the fish tank, and of course, it's got transparent glass. So if everything out gets a red hue, it's going to affect that a little bit, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to make it appear to have affected it, right? But
Mm-hmm.
it really hasn't, but
Yeah,
it will
yeah.
appear that way.
Yeah, but it really is like water. Like the air that we're in right now is really like, a fish being in water. It doesn't look any different when you're in the water and
Hmm.
then, you're at more at the surface and then the deeper you go. Well, it's still water
Right?
and it still looks like water if you were to film it with the camera going all the way down,
Yeah.
but the pressure is there. And it equates to this experience right now with these energy waves coming. It's the same thing, just like if you were to be deep sea diving in the water. And many of you may be experiencing even dreams like that. So when this energy comes in, you might find, like I said, dreams that sort of represent that sensation of going deep, deep within the water, within the depths. Um, and then also, and then experiencing the levitation or like real buoyancy or like, um, yeah, who knows, your own unique way of showing what stage you're at.
Yeah. Right. Speaking of going deep on in the water, I was watching this deep sea, like Discover Channel special once, where they had one of those like submarine robot sort of things that could go deeper than humans can go, and it was
Mm-hmm.
designed to go like deeper than they'd ever gone before. So they're going down there, they're looking at the floor of the sea, and they come across what looks to be a pond. Right? It looks like a pond in the water. So they actually like bumped it with their I guess the arm or whatever it was of the thing, and they could see ripples go across it. So it looked like it was a pond underwater, and they took a sample of it, and it just turned out to be super highly concentrated with salt. So it made it like almost its own denser water that
Right.
created this pond
Yeah.
at the very depth of the ocean. If you were a fish, you would think, oh, there's water and I'm not in it. You know what I'm saying? Kind of
Well,
like we see air and think, oh,
that's a perfect example of like the layered truth of our reality,
right,
right? Like if you go to the depths of the ocean, you can even see then a lake within a lake within a lake
right,
in the depth, and the pressure changes. But you think the fish are just experiencing that? No, we are too in the air, but we're literally just like the fish.
right.
What? There's nothing different in my environment. But
And who's to know if
but
we go
really,
that way, it just
yeah,
gets thinner water than what we're breathing now that we
yeah.
don't see as water, right?
Yeah, but these physical truths are etheric truths as well.
Hmm.
They all overlay, these truths all overlay in how we experience reality. Those stories and examples of the layering of physical reality also layer into the etheric truth of our reality and the energetic truth of our reality and the cyclical truth of our reality. All of it, the infinite truth, all of it.
We need to cue the ZZ Top music. You got me under pressure. Everybody got do. Yeah, somebody put David. Yeah, I hear it in my head too. Thanks a lot, David. You just telepathically sent me
Stuck
ZZ
that in.
Top. Or I hope that's the song you're talking about. That's the one I received. Let's see here. Let me make sure I didn't miss any comments.
Is he getting under pressure? Under pressure.
Oh,
Dun, dun,
maybe.
dun, dun,
Oh, that's what the. Okay.
dun, dun, dun,
Who
dun,
is
dun,
that?
dun. Queen?
I think he's doing the Queen. Okay. Sorry, it got mixed
Is
up
that
in
right?
delivery and it turned into ZZ Top for me. But
Good
there we
enough.
go. Talking
I
about
hope
coloring our own experiences, right?
it's Bowie. Is it Bowie and Queen?
Ah, I like that. I am the river and the river is me. Yeah.
That's right. Be the river.
Be the
Just
river.
be the flow. Let it all drift away. Let the stories fall away. Let them float away.
David Bowie?
Let the thoughts float away like leaves. Is it Bowie? I was gonna say, is it Bowie and is that the one they did collaborated? I think it's a collaboration.
You got a few years on me, sis. I'm just playing. I don't know.
Shut up, scene.
That's funny.
It's funny. Yeah,
Okay.
man.
Gotta get my dig in.
Yeah, I know.
Is it,
You're allowed.
you look too young, I gotta say. It makes me look younger.
That's okay. I let you get away with it.
Well, we love you guys so much. Is there anything else that we didn't talk about? Anything you expect? I
I,
I
I did
expect good
enough. I
things,
did
guys.
enough talking for today.
There was one thing I wanted to close with. What was it? Oh, okay. So you know how many timelines of destruction and stuff fell away, and so we've had many doomsday prophecies that aren't ever going to happen and things like that. But on the other hand, there's no good movie that doesn't at least appear like or that might look like the end of the world or
Exactly.
whatever. So just
Yeah.
trust going within and trusting that connection and um, all that other stuff. Just see it
Yeah.
as theater until it's right in front of your eyes.
Yeah. Let it play out, and catalysts are expected. But
And,
yeah,
and I want to say that I don't have any information that I'm not telling you guys. That came through in meditation. Like, just trust no matter how things look. The best movies, and this appears, who did it? Is this a good guy? Is this a bad guy? And you can look at all this and nobody really knows. People think they know, but nobody knows at the end of the day. But I do know it's
yeah,
all going to work out perfectly, better than we expect. But it's a
that's it.
surprise. You got to enjoy it.
Well, I think it's a good tip to just not focus on the details, information, and headlines and things like that, and just kind of tune that out and just draw in that energetic experience,
Hmm.
draw in that tone to you, and focus on that. Hear only that, the tone that you want to resonate to, that you want to draw to you, and the universe will provide. It's a magnetic inevitability.
Right.
It is impossible to resist us once we put out the call, and the clear our tone, the more pure and clear our tone is, the easy it is for the universe to hear us and answer that call. So
And
simplify.
it's not a bad idea to take a fast from media and television if you find yourself feeling all low vibe. Give
Yes,
it a day
very
or two,
much.
because I tell
No,
you what,
that's
I don't
really,
miss it.
yeah.
I don't miss it at
That
all.
really is. And it's hard because we get drawn in, the dramas that we don't realize. And I'm just as guilty too. And I
Yeah.
just have to know, energetically, it really is listening each day. And if you feel that, you just put it down. You got to go breathe. You got to go do something else. You got to go breathe. And that's just being tuned in each moment of now. How am I feeling right now? What is my energy calling me to do right now? What is it asking me to do right now?
Right.
Yeah.
But when you're feeling those energies and they feel very intense, they feel very anxious, you can sort of feel like, well, is this me? I need to get involved with this, or I need to watch what's going on. I need to be, I need to make sure I keep an eye on things, right? So that's like how the ego gets you to keep watching stuff. You know what I mean? When
Yeah.
at the end of the
Well,
day,
you know what? Only you can. Only each person in each moment of now can only answer that, and
absolutely.
because there may be a point to you watching something at that time.
Right.
It's understanding the energy that's drawing you or compelling you
Mm-hmm.
to do what you're doing.
Right. Love or fear,
Is it
baby.
an honest motivation or is it a compulsion?
Right.
Like, where is the intention stemming from?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the need coming from?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the core of that? And is it valid? Is it an intuition drawing you forth to look at something or do something, or is it a
A
need?
distraction from something else as well. Is
It's
this
you
distracting
gotta
me from
Yeah,
something
you
else?
gotta come back to the
Right.
what's the source of
Mm-hmm.
energy that I'm launching my intentions from in each moment, and my focus on.
And that becomes less apparent, doesn't it, if you've got knots in that energy stream, like you were talking about, right?
Yeah, well, you'll catch yourself having a lot of reasons. So basically, if you have to start listing off in your head, a lot of excuses, then you're being defensive with your own self, and maybe it's time to chill out and do something else and think about really why you need to do what it is that you're being compelled to do.
Right.
Well, but that's, again, it comes back to the but. So everything you said before, remember that. It'll stop you saying but a lot. And you think about what it is you're really saying.
So,
Yeah.
but, however, those sorts of, hey, just
Hmm.
forget about everything I just said. It's total crap, right?
Yeah. It doesn't matter. It doesn't count.
Right. I know you're going to say this, but let's forget about that and
But
just look at the problem here. I know you're saying an opportunity, but the problem.
but
Yeah, that's really what comes down to that.
yeah.
But we get it
But what?
when we're supposed to get it, and we notice when we're supposed to notice, and we're right where we're supposed to be. Is what I feel like. I just think the more we tune in and tap in, the more we can create a better experience for ourselves. But you know,
Yeah.
things might look like all are lost at any given point, but it will never really be that way, in my opinion, anyway. In my world, in my
Unless
reality.
you choose to experience, yeah, unless
Right,
you choose to experience it that way, then
right,
have
right,
at it.
right.
It's all yours. Yeah, but and there's no judgment from me on that. If that's what your soul has, I've had that experience of all is lost. At some point, maybe that's what your soul needs to experience, the sensation of all is lost.
Yeah.
Nothing lasts. It's all in transition. We move from one experience to another, and we can move through those experiences more quickly when we don't hang on to the stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of, oh, I remember about that time when all was lost, and I can tell you it affects every single decision I make today.
Right.
Amen. Okay, that's it for me today. That's
All right.
it. That's it.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you
That's
so
it.
much for being here, Michelle. Lots of love to you, and thank you guys for watching and watching later. Leave your comments below if you have any symptoms that you want to bring up that are happening, and we can see if other people are experiencing them as well, because things are crazy. I've lost I want to say 20, 25 pounds in the last 3 months. I just haven't been hungry. Had a lot of that nauseous thing, or just really extremely thirsty, and I drink too much water, and then I don't feel like eating because I've drank too much.
Yeah.
So
I just don't think we need the
I
same
was
amount
just
of food,
shocked.
really.
I was shocked
Yeah.
to say I was a little over 200, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was 220 something last I checked. So
Yeah.
we're changing, and I say go with the flow. That's what I do.
Be you, boo.
That's right. Lots of love, you
Bye.
guys. We'll see you on the next one. Oh,
Bye. Bye, guys.
you got Zoe with you?
Okay, Zoe. Zoe!
There's Zoe. Awesome. Bye, Zoe.
Bye, Zoe. Say bye, Zoe.
Be sure to check out the website at uotf.net. There you will find the live stream schedule displayed in your local time right there on the front page. Below that, you'll find links to take the Beyond Quantum Healing course at a discounted rate, purchase our book, Mandela Effect, Friend or Foe, in paperback or ebook, or to contact me to schedule a BQH session. At the top of the site, you'll find links to help support the work I do, access the free private forum where you can discuss organizing